This is a season of Advent, and it's a wonderful time of Christmas trees going up. We've got some trees behind me here in the sanctuary at St. Andrew, and people are putting lights up in their houses. And I know I've been to a number of special events where neighbors are getting together, and we got together with the Seventh-day Adventist congregation and had a wonderful dinner Saturday night. There's a lot of things happening. It's a really special time of year. But it's a time also to wait. The whole period of Advent is to be anticipating what God is going to do. The birth of Jesus. The anticipation that God is still active in this world and that the Spirit is still showing up. I think for a lot of us, we've lost that sense of anticipation that God is not only alive and well, but deeply involved in our lives and deeply involved in the world. And I think for me, to cultivate that this time of year, to cultivate that anticipation, that expectation, there's two kinds of waiting. There's the waiting that comes from boredom or just not much hope of anything is going to happen. That you're waiting and waiting and waiting. I remember being in line to register at a church event at Willow Creek, and there was a problem with the registration. And so I was being sent over to another line, and I had low expectations that this was going to get solved in any way that was going to work out well. But when I got into the line and looked at the sign that was above the woman that was manning that particular line, it said, Registration Solutions. And my expectation standing in line was completely different than an expectation of there's a problem and probably nobody's going to be able to fix it. It's going to be really inconvenient. It's going to cost me a lot more money, or whatever those expectations were. And I think that feeds into this whole time of year. I've got grandkids, so we watch Pixar movies, and The Incredibles is a really fun movie, and there's a little boy on a tricycle that's the neighbor of Bob, and sees Bob do all these things with his car, pick it up, put it back down, and all these things, and Bob asks the kid, what are you waiting for one time? And the kid kind of goes, shrugs, he goes, well, I don't know, something amazing. And then at the end of the movie, when everything's blowing up and everything, and Bob turns to the kid, and the kid goes, that was amazing. That was totally wicked. And I think to have that kind of expectation that God has not left the building, God has not left us alone. This is a season when we celebrate the Incarnation, that God became human, became flesh, and dwelt among us as Emmanuel. That there's a sense that God is near to us, and we can have that expectation that God is at work in us. And if there's not that sense that God is up to something in our lives, God may not be the problem. The problem, as I've been trying to tell the congregation every Sunday, is busyness it's the most destructive thing to our spiritual well-being. That's what somebody said, busyness is not of the devil, busyness is the devil. And the more activities, even these wonderful activities, if they push out what I call the white space in our lives, those places where nothing really is going on, where there's a sense of stillness and a sense of expectation, a place for God to show up and touch our lives. If we don't maintain that space, we're going to miss what God is doing. And as I suggested, and this happened to me last night, the 3 o'clock wake up and laying in bed. And rather than getting agitated, to be at peace and to listen to the stillness and to have this sense that God is in this place, this waiting, this waiting, this time, this season of waiting for Christmas is a wonderful time of interaction with each other and with God's Spirit. Amen.